Okay, here we go. That looked pretty good.
Yeah.
$52,100, Sarah. This is a chromium steel, unlike 1095. That's the biggest difference between it and 1095, plus the extra carbon. But the biggest difference is the chromium in it. It's also like a Goldilocks steel. It really doesn't like it if you get close or drop below 1600 degrees when you're working it. And it really doesn't like it if you're trying to work it above 2100 degrees, right?
Yep.
Its ideal working temperature is like 1900 to 2050.
Okay.
That's Fahrenheit. If you work in Celsius, go Google it.
Yes.
It's America.
America.
All right, Sarah. Profiles. Mm-hmm. We're not making a Skinner. It's a type.
What kind are you gonna make?
Well, we've done flatbacks. We've done drop points. We've done Warncliffs. We've done sheep's foot. But I think what we're going to go for right now is we're going to do spear point.
Okay.
Spear point's pretty simple. So we have a center line here. We have center line-ish here, and we're going to take and drop this down.
Is it more straight than belly?
It's not straight. We're just going to follow the
edge.
But that's it. That's kind of our, so that's our spear point we're looking for. They're much wider. These are going to be much wider knives.
Okay.
But they're going to be a true spear point knife.
Is it more of like a throwing knife?
I mean, you probably could if you balanced them out well.
Okay.
You probably could. There's absolutely no question that this thing is hard.
But how hard is it?
We're just going to check the 65. Oh, yeah.
And it's hard.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely hard. All right, Sarah, we got our two knives here. Both have been heat treated, ground, and sharpened. This one was flame tempered, and this one was ran through the knife maker's kiln at 420 degrees for 2 hours twice. Now, the only thing left to do with these is to test them.
That's now a cute angle. I does not want to.
I think we just try and break it.
Yeah, let's see how far you can go.
Take it out and test the tip. Heat treatment.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Holy sh! It broke into 3 pieces.
The temper on the backyard heat treat is what really surprised me. I was confident in the quench, but the temper was really the question. I didn't clean the blade before tempering, which is a bad habit of mine. And if I had, I could have read the temper colors and controlled it a little better. What actually happened is I basically nailed the temper in the middle of the blade, but held back too much on the tip, trying not to overheat it. The grain structure tells us the quench was solid, and there's no visible grain growth, no large crystalline faucets. So we didn't overheat during austenization, and the structure is tight and uniform, which points to a proper martensite transformation. We got a fine silky grain, and that's exactly what we're after. The failure at the tip isn't coming from grain size. It's coming from insufficient temper. That area stayed harder and more brittle than the rest of the blade. Now these tests are extreme. This is a worst case scenario. You're not seeing this kind of stress in normal use. So with this heat treatment, the blade's going to hold up right up until you push it into failure. Now, looking back, we could have put just a little more heat into it. And if the blade had been clean, we would have seen that coming. Now, on the pro side of the heat treatment, I'm still dialing in the kiln. There's not a lot to it. You identify the steel, reference your temps, and for 52100, we're in that 1500 to 1550 range. And from there, it's about soak time, holding at temperature long enough to get full austenization. So when you come out of the kiln and into the quench, you get a complete martensite transformation. Based on the grain structure, that part is working. We're seeing a fine, uniform structure with no grain growth, which tells us the austenization, temps, and quench are in the right range. Where things are breaking down is in the tang. On these last tests, we're not just seeing failure in the blade, we're seeing tearing and separation through the tang as well. That points to the tang being too hard and too brittle, instead of having the toughness it needs to absorb that load. What's happening here is we're getting a more uniform hardness out of the kiln process. The entire piece, including the tang, is transforming and tempering evenly, which sounds good, but in practice it removes the softer and tougher zones you actually want in the tang and along the spine. With the flame temper, we're naturally correcting for that. We're putting more heat into the tang, bringing it up through the spine, and feathering it forward across the blade. That step isn't happening on the kiln side. So moving forward, the fix is to bring that differential back into the process. After the quench, introduce a controlled differential temper, soften the tang, bring it up through the spine slightly, and then let those colors run just a little bit down the blade before putting it up in the kiln to go on a full oven temper cycle. That gives you a tougher tang, a more forgiving spine, and keeps the edge performance where it needs to be, instead of creating a fully hardened structure that fails across multiple points. At the end of the day, this is just comes back to differential heat treatment. We need it on the flame side, and we need to carry that same approach into the kiln process as well. These are successful.
Yes, they are.
These are successful.
Yes.
That's what we want everybody to understand. These are very successful heat treatments, whether you're doing it with your eyeball and a laser thermometer and a torch, or you have a kiln at home. They're both successful.
Yes.
Can they get better?
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely get better.
Yeah, as you learn and grow, things will get better.
Right. So, yeah. My name's Nathan.
My name is Sarah.
And this is Heat Treatment, and we'll see you on the next.